so I'm going to kind of just bring up what I'm going to be building today. This is jail drop, and this is the menu. We're just going to go ahead and click. And here's our simple level select. I only have, I think, 2 or 3 levels set up right now, but you'll be able to create more levels and then add new levels, you know, whenever you want. We can't click level 2, 3, 4, or 5 because we haven't completed level 1. So I'm going to go to level 1. And the objective of this game is to get your little prison guy onto these grassy blocks, and then remove all of the other blocks on the screen. So we can do that by tapping these blocks, and then you'll see that there is physics involved in everything. And so once the guy is on the block, after a set amount of time, it's going to give us the level complete, and then it's going to go to level 2. And level 2 is pretty simple. We just wanted to create some simple levels at first so that it's easier just to kind of demonstrate. Of course, you can build harder levels in your own time. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and click on these blocks and get him onto the little grassy platform, and then go ahead and remove the rest of the blocks. And there we go. So that's what we're going to be building today. You'll see back at the select, levels 2 and 3 are now open. So if we go back to level 1, and if this guy actually hits
Entry
ground,
and exit chimes are off.
we're actually going to spawn or reset the level so that way you can try again. So I'm just going to kind of do that. If he hits the ground, everything's going to reset instantly, and then you can go ahead and try again. That's what we're going to be building today. Alright, so the first things we need to do is open a new project. If you have GameSalad open, you can go ahead and click the blank project, which is on the top left, and that will bring up a new window. I'm just going to try and fit this on the screen here so you can still see the slides. If we go into the Scenes tab, you'll see we have one scene available. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the name and name it Level 1. And then I'm going to go inside, and you'll notice that there's an Images tab in the library here. If we click on that, we don't have any images in this project right now, so we can click this little plus sign, and that will open so you can navigate to find the art you just downloaded. It'll probably be in the downloads folder. You can go ahead and find it. Mine's already open. I'm just going to select all of this and open that. Alright, so we have our art now in our library. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of the art and drag it into the actor inspector right here. Alright, now we don't actually need this first actor right here because we'll be using the second one. So let's go ahead and select it and then delete it by clicking delete. We don't need the object shader, so we can delete that. You can add this in after the webinar, but for time's sake, we're just going to remove them right now. We're going to remove the block, the lock as well. And then we have a pause button, and we're going to remove that. Okay. So now we need to create 5 more actors, so we can hit the plus sign right here and create 5 more. We're going to call the first one Ground. The second one is going to be called Detect if Actor Fell. The third one, Holding Area. Actor 4 is going to be called Reset. And then the last one is going to be Ground Rules. Okay. I'm just going to move some of these up just so it's kind of matching the slide. That way it's easier for you guys to follow along. Let's go ahead and name some of these too, that way it kind of matches with the slide. So this little smaller grassy platform I'm going to name goal 2, and then the longer one, goal 1. Alright, this metal block I'm just going to call block 2, and then this little brick one I'm going to call block 1. Now our little jail guy, we're going to call him main character. And of course we can just name our background. Alright. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to catch up. You can go ahead and rearrange the actors just like it is in the slide. If you want. I'm going to do that. Just so it's a little easier to follow along. Alright. You notice that we have a attributes tab near the top. If we click that, we can add new attributes. We're going to add 5 new attributes, and the first 2 are going to be integer attributes, and then the last 3 are going to be Boolean attributes. Okay. We're going to name our first integer attribute how many this level, and we're going to leave it set to 0. We're going to call the second one level unlocked, and we're going to set this to 1 initially. The first Boolean we're going to call reset. The second one we're going to name touching goal, and then the last one is going to be called level complete. I'll give you guys a few seconds to catch up. Alright, we're going to want to also give us a little bit more room to work with. You can probably see, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. We don't have that much room to work with right now. This black area is pretty much your device screen. So we want some room to kind of work with. So what we're going to do is near the top right here, you'll see there's a tab called Theme. If we click that, and we go down to Size, we can change the height from 320 to 640. And that's just going to give us a much bigger area to work with to kind of fit our needs. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually save this project, just in case something goes wrong. Alright, let's head back over to the Game tab, and then we're in the Attributes, so we need to go back to the Actors tab. And let's go into the first actor, which is called the ground. Let's double click that, and then you'll see we can set it to a color, a specific color. So I'm going to set it to brown. And then we need to open the physics part of this actor. So I'm going to hit the little drop down menu there. And we're going to just change the density to 0, the friction to 2, and then the bounciness to 0. Alright, I'll give you a little bit of time to catch up there. I see that you guys, I'll kind of slow down a bit. Alright, so some of you don't have all of the attributes. I'm going to go back to that slide, and it's up now. You guys can kind of see that. I'm going to kind of do a recap here. We went ahead and imported our art, and then we dragged that art into the actor inspector, and then we kind of rearranged them and named them. And then we went into the attributes tab, and we created these attributes, which are also displayed on the slide. After that, we went into the Scenes tab, which is right here, and then we changed the height to 640. Okay. Okay. All right. And then we went into the ground actor, which is the first actor. We gave it a color, and then we changed the density to 0, the friction to 2, and the bounciness to 0. I'm going to go back to the attributes here and kind of just explain what these are. Booleans are just like true or false, so they can only be set to false or true, true or false. Integers are just whole numbers, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll be using this as just for the level select and how many levels we've unlocked. You can't do like 1.5. That's just going to round up to 2. So this is all we need for the webinar right now, but hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit more information on the attributes. Okay. Going back into the ground, we do actually need to make sure that this actor is invisible when we are actually playing the level. So what we're going to do is go into the Behaviors tab. It's right next to the images. Just click Behaviors. And then a couple down, you'll see the Change Attribute Behavior. We're going to drag it in. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this little button here. And our attribute browser will pop up. And we're actually going to click on the ground. That's the name of the actor. We're also going to call this self. So if you click on that, you'll see some new options come up. And what we're going to do is we're going to select self or ground. You'll see a couple down, it says color. We click on that, and then alpha will be up there. If we click alpha, it's just going to set that. And we just want to make sure it's set to 0. A lot of people go ahead and actually open the color in the actor and then set it to 0, just like this. And you can see that our actor is invisible. So it's going to be a lot harder to edit the levels if we do that. Because the actor is invisible and we won't be able to tell exactly where it is. So that's why I use this method, so we can actually see the actor while editing, but it still gets the same point and crop. It makes sure it's invisible when you start the scene. Alright, I'm going to head over to block 1, and there's a couple things we need to do in here. Again, let's open the Physics tab. And I'm going to change the density. We're going to keep that at 0, but we need to change the friction to 22 and the bounciness to 0.3. We don't want to keep this on 1 because then it's going to be bouncing all over the place and colliding with everything else, and it won't be able to pretty much stay in one spot. So we want to make sure that's set to 0.3. The drag, we're just going to set that value to 8. All right. Hopefully everybody's caught up now. I'm just going to give you a couple seconds to look at this. Okay. It's still on the slide, so you should be able to still look at that. Now we need to create 2 self attributes within this actor. Self attributes can only be referenced in the actor that you created in. So for each actor you place on the screen, it's going to have its unique self attributes. So what we're going to do is click the little plus, and you'll see it'll tell us to pick an attribute. And we can select the real type. We're going to create 2 real attributes. And we can go ahead and name them. And so we're going to name the first one Start X, and the second one Start Y. We did go ahead and create 5 more actors other than the images we imported in here. And so those actors were called the ground. We went ahead and created them and then named them. So we have ground, we have detect if actor fell, we have holding area, we have reset, and then our last one we created was called round rules. I'm going to go back into the ground actually, and I'm going to make sure that movable is turned off, that boolean there. I'm just going to turn it off. We don't want this this actor to be moving. That's why we're doing that. Alright, I'm going back into block 1. And we're going to start putting some stuff in here. Again, going back into the behaviors tab in the library here. We're going to throw in a couple change attributes. Okay. We're going to change. Our attribute browser is going to pop up. We're going to change block 1. You'll see it right there. We're going to change block 1, and we can scroll down. We need to select start X, which we just created. So we're changing start X, and we're going to change it to self or block 1, and you'll see right across from that is position, and then X. Alright. So we're changing self start X to self position X. We need to do the same thing for Y, so we're going to select our new start Y attribute we just created, and we can go and select block 1, and I'm going to select our start Y. I had to scroll down a little bit. Start Y. 2, and our expression editor is going to pop up. And again, we can just select block 1 or self, and right across from that is position Y. When we change self start X to self position X, we're actually recording the initial X value of this actor when the game or scene starts. We do the same for the Y position, and then we'll be able to actually reference these new self attributes when we reset the level. So this is going to come into play when we set up the instant reset technique. Next, we're going to drag in the accelerate behavior. This is going to act as our gravity for the game. GameSalad does have a gravity option built in, but if you decide to use that, all of the actors on screen are going to be affected by gravity, so it's pretty much better to use the accelerate behavior, so that way we can pick and choose which actors we want to be affected by gravity. So the accelerate behavior is the very first behavior in your behavior list. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. And for the direction, we're going to set that to 270, and that's down. So we want to make sure that this is actually being affected by gravity, which is why we're setting it down. The acceleration we're going to put at 400, and we're going to put this relative to scene. All right. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to kind of finish that up. You'll see it in the slide too. I kind of had to stretch the images just so you guys could see it, but hopefully it's still readable. Okay. Now while you're doing that, I'm going to just click the home button, which is on the top, and it's going to take us back to the scene tab. Before we go any further, I'm going to make sure that I save. Command S. Alright. And we have a couple tabs up here. We're in the Scenes tab currently. We need to go into the Actors tab. So if I click Actors, all of our actors that we created earlier are displayed here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new tag, which can be done by hitting the little plus button on the bottom left, and that creates a new tag. We're going to call this new tag Collide. Alright, we're going to call that Collide. I guess some of you are having an issue, like you don't know which actors we created after we imported our art. So I'm going to just type it in here. We created the ground actor, the round rules, the reset actor, the detect if actor fell, and the holding area. So now you guys should be able to see that in the text box. Those are all of the extra actors that we created. We already went in and did some stuff with the ground actor. I'm going to open that back up. You can kind of see what we did here. Just give you a couple seconds. Okay. All right. Let's go back and press home. And let's go back into the Actors tab. Now, I just created this collide tag. That can be done again by just hitting this little plus sign at the very bottom left, and that'll create a new tag. We already created the tag that we needed, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that one I just created. Okay. Now what we want to do here is go back into the All tag, and we're going to want to drag the actors that we want to collide with each other into this new collide tag. So for example, we want all of our blocks and our goals and our main character to collide with the ground, right? We don't want them to just fall through the ground. So I'm going to select the ground actor, and I'm going to drag it into the collide tag. You'll see it's popped up here in the collide tag. Okay, again, I'll do that again for block 1. So we want block 1 to collide with the ground. So we're also going to drag this into the collide tag. And when I release, it's going to go into this new tag. We do want to make sure that everything is going to collide with the holding area, and that'll come up later, but let's just go ahead and select the holding area actor and click and drag into the collide tag. Okay. So right now we have the ground, the holding area, and the block 1 actors into the collide tag. Okay. We also want block 2 to collide with block 1, the holding area, the ground, and everything like that. So again, we're going to select and drag it into the new collide tag. Okay. We want to be able to collide with these two grassy areas, or the goal 1 and the goal 2. Okay, if you drag the wrong actor into the tab, how do you get it back out? You should be able to just delete it by selecting and pressing delete. That will delete that actor from that tag. Okay? So we want to make sure that we drag goal 1 into the collide tag and goal 2 into the collide tag. We also want the main character to collide with all of that, so then drag that in there. Alright, so I think that's about everything. We have the ground, the holding area, the blocks, and the main characters. That should be good to go. So again, we created the tag, and we dragged all of these actors into this new tag. Okay? So we did that, so that way we can go back into the block 1, which I'm going to do now. Again, I can hit the scene tab, and I'm going to click level 1, which we named earlier. And then I'm going to go back into block 1. Okay. So you'll see our slide is still on block 1. We have the accelerate behavior in there and the 2 change attributes. We're going to throw in the collide behavior right under the accelerate behavior, and we're going to make sure that we select, instead of actor of type, we're going to select actor with tag. And it will automatically put in our collide tag, which we just created. And that way we don't have to have multiple collide behaviors in there, and it's just neater and easier. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and shrink these rules just so they're out of the way. I'm going to create a new rule, and you can do that by clicking the Create Rule button, which is near the top right. That's going to create our rule. Currently it says, if actor receives event, mouse button is inside. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that when we touch this actor, then we can tell it what to do. Alright, so if we click the mouse position, it's going to open a drop-down menu, and we're going to select touch. So now this says, if actor receives event when touch is pressed, and that's what we want to get to. Okay. When we're at that stage, we're going to drag in 2 more change attributes. Alright, there we go. For the top one, we're going to select, and it's going to bring up our attribute browser. And we're going to select game. Now these are the global attributes we created at the beginning, so we're pretty much going to be accessing those starting now. Alright, so again we click game, and it brings up the list of attributes we created. And we're going to select the first one, which should be how many this level. Alright, so we just changed game, how many this level. And for the to section, we're going to press this little E, and that's going to open the expression editor. And we're going to hit this little arrow that will drop down this menu. And we're going to select game. And again, we're going to select how many this level. Okay. But we're also going to input -1. Just going to give you guys a couple seconds to do that. So it should look like on the left side it should say game, how many this level, and then you should click the E on the right side, and that will bring up the expression editor, and we're pretty much going to select the same attribute. So game, how many this level, and then once that's up, we're going to input -1. Okay. So what this is pretty much going to do is decrease the value of how many blocks are on the screen, so we know when to tell the game that the level has been completed. Alright. The next change attribute, we're going to change self, or block 1, position, Y, to 600. So what this is going to do is when we touch this actor, it's going to change its Y position to 600, which is roughly about here. So it gives the illusion that we destroyed that block or that it's gone. So hopefully that kind of gives you some more information about what it's going to be doing. Alright, I'm now back in block 1, and I'm going to shrink this touch rule, and I'm going to create another rule. And this is going to say, when actor receives event, and again hit the mouse position part, that's going to drop down this menu, and we're going to select overlaps or collides with actor of type, and we need to click the ground part, and we're going to select detect if actor fell. So pretty much this is saying when this block hits the detect if actor fell actor that we created earlier, pretty much what we're going to do is tell the game that there's one less block on the screen, and then we're going to, again, change its position to that containment area, so that way we can reset and have those objects come back to their original starting position, and that way we don't need to have that annoying little loading symbol on the device. So again, here's the rule, and we need to put some change attributes inside this rule. So I'm going to drag 3 into this rule, and for the first one, I'm going to change game, the very first attribute which we created, which was how many this level, to, and again, we did this earlier, hit the drop down arrow, game, how many this level, -1. We did that in the rule above as well. And then for the second change attribute, we're going to change self, or block 1, and right across from that is position, and we're going to change its X position to 240 or 260. Alright, we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did in the rule above for the Y position. So we're going to change self, or block 1, position, Y, to 600. Alright, so you'll see in the slide that those are the two rules which we created. So I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to catch up if you kind of fell behind. They're also open in GameSalad right now on my screen. Alright, so I'm going to shrink those rules we created, and I'm going to create one more rule. And this is going to say, if we click the little part that says when actor receives event, it's going to drop down, and we need to change that to attribute. So this is pretty much going to say when attribute, and we can hit that little button there. And we're going to select game. And our third attribute which we created was called reset. So we need to make sure that we double click that. So when game reset is true, now we're going to throw in a few change attributes. I'm just going to start with 2. The first one, we're going to change self, or block 1, self rotation to 0. Alright. For the second one, we're going to change self, or block 1, and we have to scroll all the way down. We're going to change it, so block 1, we're going to scroll down and you'll see motion, click that, and then we're going to click angular velocity, so double click that. We're also going to set that to 0. Again, I'm going to drag in a change attribute, and I'm going to change self, or block 1, scroll all the way down and select motion, and then linear, and then X. And we're going to set that to 0. Now what this rule is doing is it's resetting everything back to its original point. If for some reason the main character fell on the ground, or if you hit the reset button, which we'll be making shortly, then we're going to reset the scene. If the actors were moving, these change attributes are going to make sure that they're standing still, so that they're not moving anymore. So it looks like it's been reset. All right, I'm going to drag in our fourth change attribute, and I'm going to change block 1, or self motion. Again, you have to scroll all the way down to find motion, and then linear velocity Y, or just Y, and we're going to set that to 0. Okay, so those these 4 change attributes, again, are just making sure that the actor stops moving if it was moving when we want the scene to reset. Okay, now here's where we change the position of these blocks. We're going to drag in another change attribute, and we're going to change self or block 1, position, X, and we're going to hit that little E, and it's going to bring up the expression editor. We're going to change it to block 1. We're going to scroll down and select our start X attribute we created a while ago. We're going to do the same thing for Y. So I'm going to drag in another change attribute, and we're going to change self or block 1, position, Y, 2, and I'm going to hit this arrow, self or block 1, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to select start Y. Alright. So we're pretty much done with this actor now. So what we need to do is actually select our last rule and hold shift and then select all of our other behaviors. So make sure you're holding shift while you're clicking the other behaviors, and they'll have a blue outline around them. And then we need to create a group. So right next to the create rule button near the top right, to the left of that you'll see the button called create group. Go ahead and select that button when you have all of the other behaviors selected. That will go ahead and put all of the rules inside this new group, which we can then minimize so we have more room to work if we needed to. Alright, so now what we need to do is actually select our new group, click, and drag it into the behavior library. When we let go, that's going to create a custom group for us. Alright, and we're doing this because we know that we want block 2, right now we're in block 1. We want block 2 to function the same way as block 1. So instead of spending all of that time redoing all of that code, we can just simply copy that code and then place it in block 2. And that saves a lot of time. Alright, I'm going to go back out of block 1. I'm going to hit the back button. And now I'm going to select block 2, which is our metal block. Now that we're in metal block, I'm just going to select the physics again, and it's going to drop down this menu. We're going to be pretty much doing the exactly the same thing as we did for block 1. So I'm going to change the friction to 22, the bounciness or restitution to 0.3, and then I'm going to set the drag value to 8. Now again, we want to create 2 self attributes like we did in block 1. So I'm going to hit the plus sign and I'm going to select real. We're going to create 2 real attributes and we're going to name them the same thing, start X and start Y. Alright, now that we have those created, you should still be in your custom tab for your behaviors. If you're not and you're back to this point, you can just click the custom tab and your custom behavior should be right there. So we can actually go ahead and click and drag this into our new actor. And you will get a warning, an error, but what you need to do is just click continue. It's pretty much just saying that your self attributes from block 1 did not carry over to block 2, that's supposed to happen, again, because self attributes can only be referenced within the actor which you created in. So all we need to do, instead of writing out all of this code, is just change 4 change attributes. So the top 2, the first one, we're just going to select self or block 2, and we're going to select Start X. For the second one, again, we're just going to select block 2 or self, Start Y. Everything else can be the same. Just go ahead and shrink everything else. We need to get to the very bottom rule. It's the reset rule. And at the very end, there's 2 change attributes. I can go ahead and click the expression editor for the first one. And all we're going to do is input our new self attributes. So start X and start Y. And that's pretty much all we need to do for block 2. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to go ahead and catch up. If you guys are still kind of caught on block 1, I'm going to go back just so you can kind of see those rules. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to catch up. Alright, some are saying that I kind of lagged out on block 2, so I'm just going to go ahead and go over that one more time. What we did is, I'm just going to delete the group so I can do it again. What we did, we opened block 2, which is this metal block. I double-clicked that. And then we opened the physics, and we changed the physics values to what you see on the slide. Okay, so we changed the density to 1, the friction to 22, the bounciness to 0.3, and the drag to 8. Alright. And then we need to go ahead and create 2 self attributes. And you can do that by clicking this little plus button right here. And I'm going to go ahead and select 2 real attributes. We need to call the first one Start X. And then the second one, Start Y. And again, we did that in block 1 as well. And then we dragged in our custom behavior, which we created in block 1. We just dragged it into here. And we did get a warning, and that's all fine. All we need to do is, for the first 2 change attributes, for the first one, we're going to select self, or block 2, start X. We're going to select start X. And then for the second one, for position Y, we're just going to select self, start Y. We can go ahead and shrink all of this. We don't need any of this anymore. To see it, I should say. We're going to go to the very bottom rule, which is the reset rule. And the very last 2 change attributes we need to fill out again. So for self position X, we're going to change this to self or block 2, start X. And for self position Y, we're going to change it to, we're going to drop down this menu to self or block 2, start Y. So that's block 2. That's all we need to do in here because we created that custom group. If we didn't create that custom group, then we'd have to redo all of this code, and that would take a lot of time. Alright, so we're now done with block 2. So let's go back and go into the main character. Double click the main character. Alright, let's open the physics dropdown. And for density, I'm going to change that to 0.4. Friction, I'm just going to leave it 3. And we're going to set the bounciness all the way down to 0. And then for the drag, we're just going to set that to 8 for right now. Alright, and again, we need to create 2 self attributes. You should be able to see a pattern now. So we're going to create 2 real attributes. And we're going to call them start X and start Y. Again, we're going to drag in our custom group, and we'll be getting an error, and that's fine. Again, we need to fill out these top 2 change attributes. The first one is going to be self or main character, start X. The second one is going to be self or main character, start Y. Alright, now we do need to make sure that we remove the rule that says when touch is pressed, because we don't want anything to happen to this actor when we touch him on accident. We want him to always be on the screen. So here's my rule that says when touch is pressed. I'm just going to delete it by clicking this little X at the top right of this rule, and that will remove it. Okay. The next rule should say when actor receives event, overlaps or collides with actor of type, detect if actor fell. Instead of changing the game how many level or how many this level to how many this level -1, instead of that, let's actually change this to, we're going to open the attribute browser, and we're going to select game, reset, and again, we're going to open the expression editor on the right side, and we're going to type in true. We do not need these 2 change attributes, so we can remove those. Alright, so what this rule is saying is if this actor falls off the screen, we're going to make sure that we reset the game, because then you can't complete the level. So that would be a problem. That's what that rule is doing right there. If this actor falls off the screen, we need to make sure that we reset the game. Now earlier I removed the touch rule, and that just said when touch is pressed. I just removed that because we didn't want anything to happen to this actor when we touched him. The rule that came up right after that was this rule that said when actor receives event, overlaps or collides with actor of type, detect if actor fell, and then we're just resetting the game. So we change game reset to true. Alright, I'm going to minimize that. Alright, I'm going to kind of name these just so it's a little easier for you guys to see that. I see you're kind of having some trouble, and that's no problem. I'm just going to rename them. Reset. There we go. Again, so we can scroll down on this reset rule, which is the very last rule in the custom group. We need to again fill out our new self attributes. So for self position X, it's going to be start X, and then for self position Y, we're going to change that to self or main character start Y. All right. There we go. We need to add 2 more additional rules to this actor. So I'm going to create a new rule. At the top right, there's a button that says create rule. And I'm going to, right off the bat, name this touch ground. And what we're going to do inside this rule is, first off, we're going to change the part where it says when all conditions are valid. You'll see that there's a drop-down menu. And instead of all, we're going to select any. So if any of these conditions are true, or any of these conditions happen within this rule, then it's going to execute what we're going to put inside this rule. So right now it says when actor receives event, when the mouse button is inside, we actually need to change that from mouse button side to, if you select the mouse position, we need to change that to if this actor overlaps or collides. Now this is the third option from the top. And we need to select if it overlaps or collides with the ground. Alright? So this is where we're setting up to reset the game if the actor touches the ground. I'm going to hit this little plus sign right next to this condition. And this is going to add a new condition. And again, we need to select if this actor overlaps or collides. And instead of ground, we're going to select detect if actor fell. For me, this is the second option from the top. But this actor is called detect if actor fell. Alright. And then we need to go back to our standard behaviors. So right now I'm in the custom behavior section. I can go back to the standard by just clicking the standard tab. I'm going to drag in a new change attribute. And I'm going to change game reset, which is the third attribute we created earlier. We're going to change game reset to true. Alright, so I'm just going to shrink that rule, and we need to create one more rule. And again, we're going to select the all option, and we're going to change it to any. And then we're going to say when this actor overlaps or collides with goal, goal 1. So you can open the drop-down menu and select goal 1. Again, we're going to hit the little plus sign to create a new condition. And we're going to say when this actor overlaps or collides with goal 2. So if this actor overlaps or collides with any, either goal 1 or goal 2 or both, we're going to drag in a change attribute. And we're going to drag in game touching goal, which was our fourth attribute we created. It's near the bottom. You might have to scroll to see it. We're going to select touching goal, and I'm going to set that to true. On this new rule, I'm going to just name it and call it touching goal. And on the touching goal rule, on the otherwise section, I'm just going to open that up. It's a little drop down. And what I'm going to do is duplicate this change attribute by selecting it, just clicking on it, and holding down Alt and dragging. And that will create a new duplicated behavior. And I can just let go. And we have a new change attribute. It's just like the one up top. But instead of setting this to true, I'm going to set this to false. Okay. Alright, I'm going to open those new two rules that we just added. All of the other rules were in our custom behavior. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to take a look at that. Alright. We are done with the main character, so let's go into back into our actor inspector. Yeah, that's good. Make sure to save. That's a good point. So let's go into our goal 1 actor, or the very long grassy actor. We're going to open that up, and we're going to go into the physics drop down, and we are going to change the density to 5, the friction to 22. We're going to change the bounciness all the way down to 0, and the drag to 8. And then again, we need to create two self attributes, and I'm going to do that by hitting the plus sign, and I'm going to select the real option. Again, we're going to name them Start X and start Y. So we're going to go back into our custom behaviors tab by hitting this custom button. Here's our custom behavior. We're going to drag this in, and again we're going to get the error, but that's alright. We're going to fill out the two change attributes to self or goal 1 start X and self start Y. And then I'm just going to give this a little bit more some more gravity, so I'm going to change it from 400 to 700. Here is our touch rule, and it says when touch is pressed. We don't need this, so I'm going to make sure to delete this rule by hitting the X on the top right. Alright, and again, here's the rule that detects if the actor fell off the screen. I'm just going to remove all of these change attributes, and I'm going to drag in one new change attribute, and I'm going to change game reset to true. And I'm just going to shrink that down, and we need to go all the way down to the bottom of the reset rule. And again, we need to fill out our new self attributes. So self or goal 1 to start X, and for position Y to self or goal 1 start Y. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We are going to minimize our custom group here, and we're just going to call it group 2. Actually, I'll just call it goal custom, just to kind of match up with the slide. Again, we're going to create a new custom group, so I'm just going to select this and drag it into the behaviors here, and that will create our new custom behavior. So now I can go back out and go into the goal 2 actor, which is the small grass image, the actor there. I can click that. And we're going to open the physics again. And we're going to set the friction to 22, the bounciness to 0, the drag to 8. I forget what the density was here, 5, so we're going to set the density to 5. We're going to create another couple of self attributes again. So start X and start Y. And then we're going to drag in our new goal custom behavior. We get that error, but again, that's alright. We're going to goal 2 or self, and we're going to select start X. And then for the next one, again, goal 2 or self and start Y. Everything else should be good except the two change attributes at the bottom. And we're going to change goal 2 or self start X to self position X to self start X. The next one would be self position Y to self or goal 2 start Y. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this rule, this behavior group. I'm going to go back out, and we're going to head to the round rules actor, which is the very bottom actor for me. This is the last actor I created. Again, going into the round rules actor, I'm going to give it a green color. We do not need to do anything with the physics on this actor because this is our master controller actor. This is the actor that's going to be changing the scene, detecting if the game or the level is complete, so your end user won't be able to actually see this actor. But we do need to create two self attributes, and these are not going to be start X and start Y. These are going to be integer attributes. And we're going to call the first one, how many this level. And we're going to set that to 1. The next one, we're going to call what level am I? And I'm going to also set that to 1. Alright, we're going to drag in a couple of change attributes at the top here. We're going to name the first one, not name, we're going to change the first one to game, level complete, which is the last attribute we created at the beginning. And this is a boolean. And we're going to change that to false. And then we're going to change, for the second change attribute, game, touching goal, to false. And what these are doing, pretty much when the scene loads, this is just going to make sure that these two attributes are set to false. Just in case they were set to true, pretty much it's just resetting the scene. Our last change attribute here is going to change game, how many this level, which is the very first attribute we created. And we're going to change that to self, or round rules. And then that first integer attribute we created, which is called how many this level. So what this is going to do is it's going to assign a value to that game attribute we created at the very beginning, and it's going to assign it the value we input right here. So right now it's set to 1, but we'll be changing this when we're actually making our levels. Alright, I'm going to create a rule, and I'm going to say when attribute game reset is true. Now in your behaviors list, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to drag in the timer. This is the second to last behavior in your list. I'm going to drag in a timer into this rule, and I'm going to select the every, but that's going to bring down a drop menu, and I'm going to select after 0.2 seconds, and I'm going to make sure that I check the run to completion box, and I'm going to scroll all the way back up, and we're going to drag a couple of more change attributes in here. We're going to change game, how many this level, to self, or round rules, how many this level. So again, this is resetting the scene, so we're resetting the block count on the scene when the scene needs to reset. And then for our second change attribute, we are going to change game reset to false. And I'm just going to call this rule reset, and then I'm going to shrink it down. You guys can still see it on the slide. I'm going to create another rule, and I'm going to say when attribute game how many this level is equal to 0, and I'm going to hit the plus sign here and create a new condition, and when attribute game touching goal is true. So this rule is going to fire only when we removed all the blocks we can off of the screen, and when our character is on one of the goal blocks or the grassy blocks. We're going to drag in a change attribute, and we're going to change game level complete to true. Otherwise, again, I'm going to hold Alt and drag and let go, and that's going to duplicate that change attribute, and I'm going to change that to false. We are using a timer in this reset rule. We're just making sure that we give the game a little bit of a delay before we add those numbers back up. That's why we're using that timer there. While this is going on, though, the actors are going back to their initial starting points too. So I hope that helps a little bit. All right, I'm going to name the second rule we created. I'm going to call this level complete. All right, I'm just going to open these back up just in case you kind of got a little behind I'm going to leave it open for a couple of seconds so you can kind of see what's in there. Alright. I'm going to shrink these down, and I'm going to go to the next slide. We're going to create one more rule, and we're going to say when attribute game level complete, which is the last attribute we created at the beginning, when this is true. Now, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the on the behaviors list, and you'll see that there's a rule behavior in there. I'm just going to go ahead and select and drag that inside this new level complete rule, which we just created. I'm going to call this new one, though, change to next level. Okay, and so this new rule, which we just created, we're going to say when attribute game level unlocked, so when game level unlocked equals self or round rules, what level am I? We're going to change game level unlocked to game level unlocked +1. So what we're doing is we're just adding 1 to this value of the level unlocked attribute, and this is going to be used for our level select system. Alright, we're going to scroll again all the way down in our behaviors list, and I'm going to select the save attributes behavior. Okay, so going back into the level complete, just kind of recapping really quick before I move on. This level complete rule says when attribute game, how many this level equals 0, or in other words, when we've removed all of the blocks that we can in this level, and when game touching goal is true. What this is saying is when all of the blocks are removed and our main character is on or touching one of the goal blocks or the objective blocks which we need to get onto, then we're going to change level complete to true. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to change level complete to false. This next rule that I created is saying when level complete is true, and we dragged the rule inside this so that this rule was only going to trigger when level complete is true. We're saying when level unlocked equals what level am I, or self what level am I, which we created when we first came into this actor, we're changing game level unlocked to game level unlocked +1. So this is going to add 1 to whatever value is in that attribute. Okay. And then we're going to drag in the save attributes behavior right underneath this change attribute. And for the attribute, we're going to select game, level unlocked, and for the key, we're just going to put level. It's just something you'll need to remember so that you can you'll need to make sure that you load this attribute too at the beginning of your game. And then we're going to drag in a timer right below that save attribute. And then we're going to say after 1 second, run to completion. We're going to scroll all the way back up to the top in your behaviors list, and I'm going to grab the change scene behavior, which is a couple down, and I'm going to drag this into the timer. And you can just leave it as is. It should say change scene, go to the next scene. Alright? So we're using a timer here, so that way if your main character was moving and say he just barely got onto the goal block and he's about to fall off, that is not going to complete the level right away. It's gonna kind of wait a while until to make sure that you're not going to fall off. All right, and Next slide. In this change to next level rule, there's in this rule, I should have named that, but that's okay. Inside the otherwise part of this rule, I'm going to go and duplicate this timer. I'm just going to press Alt and drag this into the otherwise section, and then I'm going to select that timer, and then I'm going to just create a rule around it. And that rule is going to say when attribute game level unlocked is greater than self or round rules, what level am I, then we're going to change the scene. Now what this means is if your player has already, for instance, completed level 2, and say this is level 2, but they've gone back and they want to play it again, this ensures that they can complete the level, but it's going to make sure that they're not going to unlock level 9 if they're on level 8. I hope that makes sense. So it's just enabling the end user to play the levels again, but they're not going to be able to cheat and unlock future levels. Alright, so here we are. We can now start making level 1. So I'm going to go back out, and first things first, I'm going to go ahead and drag our background actor onto the scene. And we're going to want to make sure that we place this right in the middle there. This is for iPhone 5. The art was created for the iPhone 4S and below, but you can just go ahead and stretch it a little bit. I'm going to click and hold Alt and drag the sides, and that's going to kind of just stretch the actor on both sides. And I'm just going to kind of fill the screen. Alright, so now we need to grab the ground actor, which is at the very top, and I'm going to drag it onto the scene, and I'm just going to kind of shrink it down a bit and place it right at the bottom and just lay it out like that. Alright, now I'm going to go into the detective actor fell actor. I'm just going to double click that. I'm going to give it a color, and I'm just going to open the physics really quick and just make sure this is set to, this is not movable. We don't want this to be moving around, and I'm just going to change the bounciness to 0, just really quick. And then we can drag this onto the scene, shrink it down a little bit, and place it outside of the camera area. You'll see there's this little white line around here. That's where your the camera is going to be. So make sure that you place your background within this area. But we want to make sure that this detective actor fell, that this is kind of out of the way a little bit. Just getting some room to detect if the actor fell off. And I'm going to drag another one onto the scene and place it on the opposite side. And I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And let's take the holding area and let's drag this onto the scene as well. Now we're going to shrink this, and we're going to move it and kind of just create a little square or rectangle up here. And this is where the blocks are going to pop up. And we want them to be withheld or held within this area right here, so that way they're not falling back down onto the camera area. And so I'm going to, again, hold down Alt and drag, and I'm going to drag this actor onto the other side, just like that. And I'm going to grab the holding area again, and just place it up here, holding down Alt, and just create a little rectangle there. Alright, so now we can start laying out our blocks and our goals. So I'm just going to try and kind of stick to the screenshot that's on the slide. You can do whatever you want. So let's do that now. You can move your actors around pixel by pixel by just using the arrow keys on your keypad. A lot of people don't know that. Alright. don't forget to add your main character. Just going to set him on top right there. Alright. I'm going to also make sure to drag our round rules actor onto the scene and shrink it down, but move it out of the way, out of the camera area. Alright. So here's my level 1. I'm going to go ahead and count how many blocks can be removed on this level. So I think there are 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't count these goals. Those won't be removed, so you don't need to count those. So since there are a total of 4 in this level that can be removed, what I'm going to do now is double click on our round rule actor, which should be on the scene. It's going to open up here, and we need to make sure that we change how many this level, that little self attribute there. Okay, I'm getting word that my audio is kind of going out. Alright, hold on, let's see what I can do. Can you guys hear me now? Thanks. Alright. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, so it seems like that's a lot better. Okay. I'm just going to back up a little bit. I laid out my level 1, so I just went ahead and dragged my ground actor onto the scene here. I dragged my detective actor fell actors onto the scene, and then I started laying out my blocks, including my goals. Alright. I also made sure that I created our little containment area up here, and I made those out of the holding area actor. After that, I went ahead and dragged down our round rules actor onto the screen. I kind of shrunk it down a bit and then moved it away from the camera. And then I counted how many blocks could be removed from this level, which in this case is 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't need to count our goals as blocks that can be removed. Since there are 4 actors that can be removed, what we need to do now is double click our round rules actor, which is on the scene, and we need to change the value for this how many this level attribute. So we're going to select that, and we're going to change that to 4. And since this is going to be level 1, we're just going to leave what level am I, and we're just going to let that and set that to 1. Alright, others are still saying that they're getting some lag. Can you guys still hear me okay? Okay. Alright, good. Alright, so there's our level 1. So I'm going to go ahead and press preview at the very top, this little green arrow, and let's preview this level. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these actors here. You'll see that our our containment area is kind of falling down, and that's fine. All we need to do is go into it, our holding area, go into the physics, and make sure that movable is turned off. I forgot to do that. That's okay though. It's an easy fix. Yeah. Alright, so let me preview that again. Alright, we're all good now. Alright. You'll see that the scene kind of reset. What that was, it was actually changing scene because we completed that level. But since there's only one scene in the game right now in this project, it's just coming back to this scene. So we know that everything's working. That's great. Alright, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to click the home icon. And then I'm going to duplicate this scene. And I'm going to do that by selecting it, holding Alt and dragging. And I'm going to call this level 2. And then I'm going to go into level 2. And I'm just going to rearrange some actors here. Alright, I'm going to try and keep it kind of similar to the screenshot. You guys can go ahead and lay out your level 2. Again, you can add as many blocks as you want. It doesn't need to be perfect right now. I know we are kind of running over time, so I'm just going to go ahead and there we go. Okay, so now we have level 2 set up, and now I have 5 actors that can be removed on level 2. So now I need to go ahead and open the round rules actor, and instead of 4 for how many this level, I'm going to put 5. And then we also need to change that self attribute. What level am I? We're also going to change that to 2 since this is level 2. There we go. So let me go ahead and go back home and click preview. Here we are at level 1. And then I'm going to start removing these. And you'll see we got the level complete and we moved on to level 2. So that's really good. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this level here. And there we go. We completed that level and it took me back to level 1. Alright, so we have the main mechanic down. Alright, next we need to go back into level 1, that scene right here. Double click level 1. I'm sorry, I went into the ground actor. We don't want to do that. We want to scroll down and find our reset actor. Alright, I'm just going to double click the reset actor and change the size to about 35 by 35. And I'm going to give it a red color. And then I'm just going to create a simple rule inside this reset actor that says when touch is pressed, I'm going to change attribute. I'm going to change game reset to true. And that's all we need to do inside this reset actor. I can then go ahead and drag it onto our scene. And then I can go back to level 2 and do the same for level 2. And I'm just going to hit preview again. And then I'm just going to remove a couple actors here and then hit the reset button. You'll see that when I hit that, everything goes back to its original starting position. And that's really nice. The scene doesn't have to reload. And that's why we were using those self attributes. It's a little bit of work, but once you do it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. I'm just going to go ahead and save. And then I'm going to go back out, and let's start creating our level select. Let's create a new scene by hitting this plus sign, and I'm going to name this level select. And I'm just going to select this level select scene, which we just created, and drag it all the way to the left. And I'm going to double click that scene so we go inside. I'm going to grab our background image and just place it on the scene and resize to fill the entire screen. And then I'm going to go into our cube here, our level select cube with the flower. In the slide, it's the image without the flower. That's fine. You can go into to either one. I would recommend going into the flower one. All right. I'm going to create a self attribute for this actor, and it's going to be an integer, even though the the self attribute in the slide says index. And I'm going to name this what level am I? And I'm going to set that to 1. Alright, now I'm going to create a rule inside this actor that says when attribute self what level am I is equal or less than, that's the very last option from that drop down menu, is equal or less than game level unlocked. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure to change this image. We're going to open the images tab and find our flower level select image here, and I'm just going to click and drag it into this rule, and that will automatically bring up a change image behavior. That's a lot easier than actually grabbing the change image behavior and then selecting that image from the drop down menu. So that's a little tip for you. Alright, we're going to scroll all the way down in our behaviors and grab a rule and place it inside this rule. And we're going to say when touch is pressed, we're going to scroll all the way back up and grab the change scene behavior and drag it in. And we're going to change the scene to level 1. We're going to open the otherwise section of this first rule right here, which is now highlighted. Otherwise, we're going to go back into the images tab and find our locked level select image and drag that into the otherwise section. So this is pretty much saying it's detecting if this level has been unlocked, and if it is, it's changing the image to the unlocked image, and then when you touch this actor, it's going to go to level 1. And otherwise, if it's locked, then it's going to change the image to the locked image. All right, let's go back out and let's drag our actors on the scene. I'm just going to drag out a couple, just 5 for now. And this isn't going to be perfectly laid out. I know we're running overtime, so I'm just going to lay a couple out right here. You can set these up however you want after the webinar. So what we need to do now, this is the first actor for the level select, so this is going to be level 1. So we don't need to do anything with this actor on the screen. However, we need to go into the second actor. So select the second actor on the screen, which will be your level 2 level select cube, and double click it. And we need to change this self attribute from what level am I from 1 to 2, since this is the level 2 level select cube. And then we need to actually unlock this actor and go into the when touch is pressed rule and change that from level 1 to level 2. So now when level 2 is unlocked, you can select the level 2 cube and it's going to take you to level 2. You're going to want to do this with all of your levels, so level 3, 4, and 5. We don't have a level 3, 4, and 5 set up right now, but you can go ahead and add those levels after the webinar or when you have free time. I'm just going to go into each actor and just change that self attribute really quick just so you can see how they're locking. I'm going to do this pretty quickly just so you can see what it's going to look like. Alright, when I go ahead and press preview, you'll see that all of the actors except the first one are locked. If I go ahead and tap those, I can't go to that scene because we haven't unlocked that level. I'm going to go ahead and select the first one, and it takes me to level 1. I can go ahead and beat that level, and it's going to take me to level 2. If I go back to the level select scene, you'll see that level 2 is now unlocked, and I can select that, and it'll take level 2. So there we go. We have almost everything complete now. I'm just going to create one more scene just really quick, and I'm going to name it menu. And I'm going to go into that scene and drag in our background and resize it. And I'm going to find our jail drop logo, and I'm going to double click that. And I'm going to create a rule. Let me switch to that slide really quick. I'm going to create a simple rule in here that says when touch is pressed, we're going to change scene to the level select. Alright? So that's pretty much our presentation. Just some ideas for getting some more revenue when you release this app on the App Store. You can put some in-app purchases in here that will give the users some free levels, but then it will require them to purchase the remaining levels. And you can, have that set to 99 cents or $2. We did a tutorial on it, and you can find that on gshelper.com. You can also put iAds in there, which can show at the top or bottom, and that way you're always kind of gaining some kind of revenue. Even if the player only plays it a little bit, you know that you're going to gain some revenue from there. Playhaven is another option. You can show a Playhaven full screen ad between each level. That's one option. And there's some others, but those are just some ideas. So thank you guys for attending, and we hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't think we're going to have time for Q&A. That's up for Jonathan. That's up to Jonathan. So it's up to him. What do you say, Jonathan?
Sorry, I was busy talking with my mic on mute. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I guess we can take 5 minutes and answer them out there for you. Up to you guys if you think we should cut it short here or 5 minutes of questions. Alright, so the video will be uploaded to YouTube. Once you've subscribed to our newsletter, you should receive an email letting you know when it's out. And yes, we will be doing a Windows version of this tutorial as well. Let me give you the link for the newsletter. Alright, what about having this tutorial or webinar series like this again? Well, I think that is definitely a possibility. Topics, we will take some suggestions on topics that we can do together. And as regards to the actual file, no, we won't be providing the actual file this time. We hope that you'll get the free art and take the time to build the game yourself, because it'll make it a lot easier for you to, design your own games going forward. Let me just scroll up here. I saw a ton of questions come through.
Yep.
You saw any that I missed, Braden?
I'm sorry?
Did you see any questions that I missed that you can answer?
I mean, I think we've said it before. I think we are recording this, so I think this will be up later on. So if you guys missed anything, you can be sure to watch it again. But I haven't seen anything. No.
All right, great. At the end of this webinar, there will be a link to a suggestion box, so you can go ahead and submit your ideas right there one time. What else? Anything else that we missed? Going once, going twice. All right, that seems about it. So thanks again for attending the very first GS Helper webinar, guys. And we look forward to bringing you a lot more in the future. Have a great evening. Bye-bye now.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.